Hi, I'm Lippy.
And I'm Grumpy. Together we're Lippy and Grumpy Do Podcasting.
In this episode, Paul Ritter, Not Much Love for Branston Smooth, Extreme E, an exclusive sailing club, and a random topic generator.
Now, Lippy, we're recording this just after hearing the very sad news of the passing of Paul Ritter.
Such sad news. At such a young age as well.
Well, he's younger than me, which is upsetting in its own. But he just brought so much joy to Friday Night Dinner, which I think is possibly one of the best series that's been on television for a long while.
Yeah, definitely.
But also to some serious roles. I've not watched Chernobyl.
He was amazing in that as well, actually. You don't think it's the same person, to be honest, because obviously the characters are so different.
Well, that was his genius, really. You see him in other programmes. He was on I can't remember what programme it was, a BBC One series, I think, where he played a BBC's video technician. And he was brilliant, and he was different, as you say, from the dad in Friday Night Dinners, who I always thought was the sanest one in that household, quite frankly. Which really is saying something. So very sad to hear of his passing. But what a legacy he's left again. So we've had a bit of feedback from various people over the week. Very long weekend. Nice long Easter weekend.
Lovely.
So Orange Marshall 2 got in touch and said, Happy Easter. Great podcast as ever. So thank you, Orange Marshall 2. That makes our day.
It really does, to be honest, because we just do it for us. We like doing it. But it's nice to hear that other people like listening to it as well.
Yes, we do it for a laugh, but I have to say I have submitted it to a 24-hour podcast radio station in London.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see what comes from that. So we might get a bit of a shout-out from them. Anyway, Orange Marshall 2 says, I was going to work experience at the film studio in London that Branston used to film part of their advert for Branston Smooth. Great fun, he says. Seem to remember two ladies sitting taking all of the bits out, which is a bit of a worry. He then goes on to say, had I been there the previous week, Kylie Minogue was there filming part of her spinning around official music video. So that was a bit of a shame, really. I think most people would rather have seen Kylie over a
Definitely.
Smooth Branston. And if you may recall, he hurt his foot a couple of weeks ago, so the boot's coming off. It would have been yesterday if you listened to this on Friday.
Well, hopefully it all came off well.
Well, hopefully it didn't come off with his foot. Should be a bit awkward. And I had a very long message from the Screaming Tomato, where he copied me in on a Economist article from earlier this year, talking about German companies. And it seems that Germany has a very high proportion of family-run companies. I mean, even BMW is still essentially a family-run company. The company that set it up are still on the board. And we talked about Adidas and Aldi a couple of weeks ago. And apparently the splitting and the conflict within these companies is quite common. And quite often it's at the point where it gets passed down. So it talks about succession. So it was quite a highbrow article, but it was quite interesting. Unfortunately, being an economist, it's behind a paywall. So I could give a link, but you can only read the first paragraph. But thank you for that, Screaming Tomato. That was very interesting. And we had a rushed message from Davros. He's obviously up to some sort of master plan and not a great deal of time. He agrees with us about the Branston Smooth.
Good.
Another Ian Malcolm moment. They didn't stop to think about whether they should.
Yes.
Too busy doing it.
Yes.
So, he then talks about Only Connect, which was a show that I caught a couple of weeks ago, got terribly confused with. And he says, did Grumpy come into the programme at the latter semi-final stage? To be honest, I don't know, but it was quite late in the programme, where the difficulty is set to 11, presumably out of 10.
I was going to say, in regards to what?
Yes, just beyond
just 11.
Comprehension. So Davros and Mrs. Davros regularly watch the programme, and on a good week we do actually figure out one of two of the connections. So he does recommend trying it again for the beginning of the next series, but
Yes.
I think I'm going to stick with House of Games.
Just go for the
It's just,
easy
I
option.
can understand it, yeah.
You've worked all day. The last thing you want is to sit down and watch telly and it be more confusing than the work you've just been doing.
Well, yeah, having been bamboozled all day by technology, then sit down and be bamboozled by some people. It's just bonkers, really. His third tip is to wean off demon offspring, off chocolate that is, by using Ex-Lax.
What is that?
It's a laxative in chocolate form.
Oh,
Yes, I've not seen it for many, many years. I assume it still exists. But it has been the catalyst in many a practical joke
yeah, someone just
over the
thinks they're
years, as
eating
you can
chocolate.
imagine. Yes, exactly. So
I
not to be
I
recommended.
can see how that would go.
Yes, quite. Now, either last week or the week before, we covered the Ever Given, which at that time was either wedged or just be released from the side of the Suez Canal. And there was a cracking article in the Telegraph about a yacht club, not sailing club, yacht club, called the Southwest Shingles Yacht Club.
Yeah.
Now, the club was formed in 1984 by David Latchford, who was sailing his boat Backchat from Cowes to Poole, and he had a new auto helm. So presumably you set a course and it does the steering. Now,
Oh, I see. I was thinking, I don't know what an auto helm is.
yeah, a friend of mine did quite a lot of work on one for the Vendée Globe about 10 years ago. A really interesting project. It was very computer controlled with various servos and what have you. So they're quite sophisticated bits of equipment. However, it was veering slightly off course for one reason or another, and he hit the Southwest Shingles buoy head.
Oh, no.
And did quite a lot of damage to the boat.
I can imagine. They're solid, those things.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've done quite a lot of dinghy sailing in Southampton water, and a lot of the sailing is around those marks, or at least as a starter or finish line, and they really are massive, chunky bits of kit. You know, they're designed for tankers to go into them, not relatively small boats. Anyway, so after the shame had subsided, he came up with the idea of naming a club after the buoy. The way that it works is that when somebody has some sort of maritime disaster, obviously not fatal, then he invites them to join the club. So the suggestion was that the captain of the Ever Given was very shortly about to get an invitation.
So it's a club for people that can't sail, but do anyway.
Not the
Or
can't
have
sail.
massive accidents.
People that have had incidences. So top of the list is Tony Bullymore, who's had a number of problems while sailing. And he turned the boat upside down and had to be rescued by people in the Southern Ocean, which was, I should think, fairly unpleasant, to be honest. But also, surprisingly, Ben Ainsley, who is, one of our greatest current sailors at the moment, and did better than I think was reported in the Admiral's Cup at the beginning of the year.
Interesting. To be honest, sailing is one of those things where it's so hit and miss. It doesn't matter how good at it you are. If it's a bad wind day, stuff can go wrong.
Absolutely. Well, we had a week down at Bosom many years ago, and I think you did your RYA level 1. And the wind was a bit flaky, to put it mildly. On one day, I ended up getting the Enterprise stuck in a sluice gate.
Yes.
And had to be rescued. And then the following day, when it was even windier, went out and performed a series of perfectly timed manoeuvres. So it is a bit of luck of the draw. But it is interesting. A lot of people that sail, and particularly smaller boats, are very nervous when they start sailing. And then once they get back into the flow of it, it's okay. But a friend of mine who's a very accomplished sailor, he said, it's a bit of a love-hate thing. I really enjoy it, but I'm sort of terrified at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is quite odd, but I completely understand that. Anyway, I'll put a link to the Southwest Shingles Yacht Club on our website. And hopefully the captain of the Ever Given will get
a little
get an invite soon. That should take his mind off of the disaster.
Has he been named?
I would imagine he probably has.
Yeah, it's funny.
Well, interestingly, I read an article, I can't think what it was in, might have been the Guardian actually, where they were talking about why it happened. And it's not a matter of one thing. It's a combination of many things. And apparently, according to the GPS tracking on the boat, it did a bit of a tank slapper going up the canal. So it was quite windy. So it looks like it sort of tried to correct the wind and gone too far and had to go back the other way. Yeah. So you've then got this sort of pendulum type effect.
And once you're stuck in a bit of land or a bit of the bunker. It's not a bunker, is it? It's a bank.
Well, it's the bank, side of the bank.
It's a bit of a bank, you're screwed then.
Well, when you've got 20,000 containers on board, I mean, these things are just
monstrous.
Enormous. They take a mile to stop. So they're not, we're not talking about a manoeuvrable rib here. Anyway, after the event in the series, I believe a similar thing happened in Littlehampton as well.
Yes, I heard about that. I don't think it was as hard to rectify.
No, I think it may have made the local news and a few weird news websites, but that's about it. The other thing I came across over the weekend, which was quite a surprise, is a motor racing series called Extreme E. And a couple of weeks ago on Top Gear, which is not a program I religiously watch, but I just caught the end of it. They had Freddie Flintoff in one of these vehicles, and they're all electric. They look a little bit like the Paris-Dakar cars of probably the 90s, where they're sort of squished versions of road cars. So they're all electric. The idea is that they're promoting climate change by taking these races to places where the climate has obviously been affected. So deserts, for example, some forests and things like that. And I'm not completely convinced by the argument, but I think there is some sort of clear up process and some rectification that goes on. But the fact that they're transporting this stuff, albeit by ship, which uses the worst imaginable fuel.
Yeah.
That aside, it's an interesting technology. So they charge the cars using hydrogen plants that create electricity from hydrogen, which in fact were developed at Dunswell Park.
Yes.
And a friend of mine has a small shareholding with them, which is quite interesting. But they seem to be going downwards rather than upwards at the moment. So they take the vehicles. This was in Saudi Arabia in the desert.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got a course, some of which is a 45-degree downward slope on sand. And on the first qualifying run, two of the cars rolled over by digging in a wheel and then flipping them over.
That'd be
Nobody
terrifying.
was hurt, fortunately. It would be quite terrifying. One of them was 5 rolls, which is, that would concentrate the mind, I would have said. So what they do, the teams are mixed, so you have to have a male and a female driver. So,
like that.
And I saw the qualifying, but I didn't see the race. I haven't watched the race yet, so I must do that. So what they did, one driver does the circuit, comes into the pits, as it were, and then they swap over drivers and then do another one.
Yeah.
So there's some very interesting names in there. So Jenson Button has a team, which he's driving in. Lewis Hamilton has a team, which he's not driving in. Nico Rosberg has a team as well, which he's not driving in. So lots of big names involved in this, and it was really exciting. And I would imagine the race, so you've got 3 cars racing at the same time. Now, what you've got is gates. So you've got relatively small gates to go through, and then you've got a massive amount of desert.
Yeah.
So the opportunity to overtake and cause utter mayhem reminds me a bit of skier cross.
Yeah, I was going to say it reminds me of some sort of bumper car, but skier cross is exactly what I was picturing in my head.
Exactly,
which was the best thing they invented in skiing. I think, anyway, skiing and
absolutely.
Snowboarding.
Yeah, I mean, snowboard cross is good, but skier cross is on another level. It's just superb. So I'm imagining something like that. So we must get around to watching that before the next one comes up.
Definitely.
I think there's 6 or 7 rounds throughout the year in various places.
Interesting.
So one of them in the Arctic, which is interesting.
That is quite cool, actually.
Well, it would be very cool.
God, that's a lot of different types of terrain to then train and learn to drive on. Like, if it snows here, I have panic attacks. I can't drive.
Well, you're driving on ice, but you'd have the correct tyres for it.
True.
So you probably have studded tyres. But what was interesting is the difference in the temperature will have effect on the batteries. So it's a fairly limited number of miles you get out of it because you are going full tilt a lot of the time.
Yeah, definitely.
It was interesting hearing Jenson Button talking about the difference between tarmac, which he's very used to with lots of grip, and the sand, which has none. Yeah,
Just sucks you in, really, sand, doesn't it?
Pretty much, which I think the second qualifying bout was a bit slower than the first one because of people going over, digging in and going over. But yeah, highly recommended that. Very good indeed.
Interesting. I might try and give that a little watch over the weekend.
Well, it was live on the iPlayer. And
on the iPlayer?
On the iPlayer, yeah. No, it was live on there. And I think the race is
the
on
way
there.
you said it's like on the Google, on the iPlayer.
It's on the iPlayer. Well, it's not on... Well, I suppose it is on iPlayer, isn't it?
Yeah.
But also ITV as well had it. I think they played it live on whatever day the race was. We had a lift in restrictions in the UK.
Yes.
Last week, wasn't it?
On the 29th, so they got mildly changed.
Mildly changed, sufficiently that three of us met in a garden on Thursday night.
Got a bit tipsy.
Got a little carried away, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Although I didn't really suffer the next day, apart from just being a bit tired for being up until 1 o'clock in the morning, which is about 3 hours later than normal. But, yes, one of the three was very ill indeed, so I don't think we'll be repeating that anytime soon.
No, maybe go a bit milder next time.
Well, possibly, but the next date, of course, is next week when the pubs open, allegedly.
Yes.
So
excited. Honestly, I know people that have taken next week off just for the pubs.
That's quite sad.
Yeah, my manager has got her nails, tan, hair, and like eyebrow waxing and eyelashes all being done on the Monday, and then she's like, and then on the Wednesday I'm spending the whole day in the pub garden. I was like, good for you.
Well, I hope the weather's better than it's been the last couple of days.
She was saying her pub has a cover, thankfully.
Yes,
So
but it was very cold today. I went out for a walk at lunchtime, and we went within the space of 3 days from being warm enough to sit outside to snow.
Yeah, well, I burnt on the Friday.
Yeah.
And then on the Sunday. The Sunday it started
Sunday
snowing?
on Monday.
Monday it snowed.
Monday was snowy. So despite a 4-day weekend, the only thing I did at the allotment was deliver some bamboo canes to the please take it away table, which is very disappointing.
Yeah. Too much drinking, not enough
Well,
gardening.
I don't know what it was. Sunday just felt, ugh, to be honest. So,
Socialising takes it out of you, I've realised.
yes.
Too
Well, that's
much.
why you're limited to one a month.
One a month, I know. It's going to have to be, because I was shattered on Monday. I just wanted to sleep.
Yeah.
Had a movie day in the afternoon.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. So any joy with my pyjama bottoms?
Haven't started yet, as I said. Having a chill time at the moment. That's this weekend. They're mentally booked in for this weekend. To be honest,
okay.
it's a rather long rip. But
It is, isn't it?
It's not in a weird place. I don't think it'll be too hard to sew back up.
Okay.
But
Well,
it
we
is
look
just going to
forward
have
to
to
that
be
one.
with white thread. I don't have tartan thread. And if I did, I don't think I could get it to match.
No, probably not. No. No, definitely not. Any news from house purchasing?
Yes, well, kind of. We've got our survey booked in for this house. So that's on Tuesday next week. And then, that's on Monday next week. And then Tuesday next week is our home buyers report for our new house.
Excellent.
Life insurance is almost done. Answered all of those lovely questions.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're still at 41% according to the solicitors. And I don't really know what the next step is.
I think it will probably jump. So when you get the surveys back and...
Yeah.
I don't know, what else the searches have been done, did you say?
Searches are done. We need our mortgage lender to do the survey on the new house.
Okay.
Because they do the valuation. So I think that's the next thing, but we haven't heard from them when they're going to go and do it. So hopefully it's soon. But yeah, once that's done, then it's just contracts, and they don't take too long, really, in the grand scheme.
No, I
of
guess
things.
not. No.
Especially as they're being done independently. So it's not like we're waiting on someone else to sign a contract before they want to sign a contract and all that rubbish. So yeah, I think it's looking good for being in before the 30th of June, which is the aim.
Well, it's forging ahead with some speed, I have to say. I just hope it carries on at that momentum.
And I've realised that our estate agents are so good. Like, compared to last time, it's actually ridiculous.
Yeah.
So he rang me yesterday to just give me an FYI that the home buyers report, they had called up, like the company that are doing it have called them and they've booked in a date. And then about half an hour later, I got all the email confirmations from the company that are doing it. But I was like, how good is that? He literally just picked up the phone and called me to let me know that they've organised it and that it's been booked in. He didn't need to do that because I would have got the confirmation anyway. But he was like, I just want to give you an update. That's nice. They're definitely a lot better than the last ones where you couldn't get hold of anyone. And then when you could get hold of someone, they didn't know who you were meant to be talking to. And then eventually we got someone and they didn't really know what was going on. So
yes, I think it's always a bit of a lottery with estate agents, unfortunately.
yeah, so I think the owner of the estate agents works there. I think it's just one that's in the Fleet area, which is why it's better because he obviously keeps an eye on everyone and everything.
Well, absolutely. I mean, generally with most things, smaller companies are more communicative.
Definitely. So we just got to hope that this house passes its survey and valuation.
Yeah, it should be fine. Well, it's relatively new, isn't it? So
Yeah.
hopefully there's nothing major.
Oh no, I
wrong
mean
with
the
it.
house we're living in now to get the mortgage
yes.
approved.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's
right.
new.
And I did a bit of gardening. The garden looks a bit nicer.
Oh, but it always does when you do a bit of
We're going to do a deep clean this weekend. Get everything spick and span, hide a load of stuff in the car so it doesn't look cluttered. Well, I've got my vaccination on Sunday, so I might be a bit dead on the Monday to let them in. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Yes, we've got a zombie living here at the moment.
Yeah,
Don't
well,
let that worry you.
It's only me in, and I was like, he might not want to come in because he might think I have COVID, but I mean,
can always
it's the
go sit in the
vaccination that
car.
will have made me ill, so
Yeah.
I might just say to him, I'll go sit in the garden, you can go walk around.
It'd be interesting to see if the second vaccination has the same side effects or less.
Well, I had Pfizer, and apparently if you didn't get any symptoms from the first one, which I didn't, you're more likely to get symptoms from the second one.
Oh, interesting.
Whereas if you had the symptoms from the first one, you're less likely to get symptoms from the second one.
Okay.
But I know people that have had a mix of both, and I just think it's your immune system at the end of the day, isn't it? It's how your body reacts. So I'm praying I just get a sore arm again like last time, because that was lovely. I had a bit of a headache, but that was nothing compared to what some people had that I heard about. So
Yes, some people have had full-on flu for 2 days and then gone.
Yeah.
Which is very strange. But, yes. Good. Well, we thought we'd do something a little different this week.
we did.
Yeah, so we've got a random conversation starter
Yes.
website.
Fun.
So we're going to fire through a few of those and see and tune up our improv skills.
Oh, yeah. I love a bit of improv.
Yeah, well, this is the ideal way to do it, in my view. So I'm going to start off with, what are some things that you should not say during a job interview?
What are things that you shouldn't say? There's a lot of things you shouldn't say in a
Well,
job
there's an awful lot you
interview.
definitely shouldn't say.
I've heard a very funny story, actually. Well, it's not that funny, but the interviewee, so the person that went for the job, started flirting with the interviewer halfway through.
No! What were they thinking?
Saying that they had nice eyes. Oh, God. You can't say that in an interview, can you?
Well, that's a very drastic tactic, to be honest.
Well, they're just going to get the wrong impression either way. They're going to think that you're not really interested in the actual job. And that secondly, you're trying to find different routes into it.
Well, it is a, Monte Carlo or bust, isn't it, scenario? Yeah, it's a little bit like the first Star Wars film, or the first one to be filmed, where they're trying to get that bomb down the exhaust hole on the Death Star. So you've got this massive, great Death Star with a tiny little exhaust thing, and you've got to get it in there, and you're not doing it using any sort of technology. You're guessing, basically, which is my way of describing the Force. And somehow it's in there. The chances are you're never going to get it in there. And it's the same with that. Yeah, you might flirt and they go, oh, actually, not only are you the ideal candidate for this job, I'd like to marry you.
Yeah.
But the chances of that, you've probably got more chance of winning the lottery, to be honest.
Definitely.
Or getting the bomb down the exhaust pipe of the Death Star. So that is a very odd way. And I don't think you can better that example of what not to say in a job interview, to be honest. If you could choose to have any useless superpower, what would you pick?
A useless one.
Useless.
I would... Can it be useless but useful to me?
Well, possibly.
I would like to have hands that turned into things, so you could have, like... That is quite useful, to be honest.
Well, what would they turn into?
Like a corkscrew, so I could open a bottle of wine.
Oh, that'd be very useful, yeah.
Or like a cheese grater. Like a cheese knife, actually. I can just randomly go up and just cut cheese and eat it.
That's pretty useless, but useful at the same time.
Maybe your pinky. So I'd have one pinky as a bottle opener and one pinky as like that could turn into a knife.
I think on that theme, actually, if I had a finger that I could extend as a ruler or a measuring tape.
Yeah.
But in terms of superpowers, that's fairly useless.
Yeah.
You're not going to save the world with that one, but you could measure it. Which would be useful.
That would be.
I have considered having a tattoo on my finger.
Oh.
Millimetres. Well, it would be quite useful to measure bolts and things.
But after a while, surely it makes more sense just to measure your finger. And then you know if it's like half a finger, then it's half of whatever it was.
Well, no, you need a little bit more precision than that. Yeah. To be honest. If you measure in miles, then yes, it'd be all right. But bolts can be down to fractions of a centimetre.
I guess. But yes, a measuring tape finger is a useless, useful
it is, isn't it?
Superpower.
Yes. Oh, this is an interesting one. What would you be doing if you were not here right now?
Oh, if I wasn't podcasting.
If you weren't podcasting.
I would be asleep on the sofa. That's literally what I did yesterday. I was shattered and I just fell asleep on the sofa. At like 5:30. It's great.
Yes. I think I might be sat watching whatever game show's on at this point. Is Pointless still on at this time? Not sure.
No.
But, yes, certainly something that doesn't involve much thought.
Yes, much of nothing.
This is an interesting one. What do you carry in your purse or wallet? And I think this is things that are slightly odd rather than cards and money and things.
So can purse be like a handbag? Because I need a handbag when I go.
Let's go for a handbag.
Okay. Yeah. So the strange things I carry is sun cream. I usually have sun cream in my handbag, which isn't that strange, I don't think. It's a bit of a granny mum thing to carry around, but not that strange, maybe. Another thing that I always have in my handbag is body tape.
That is weird.
That is weird, isn't it?
Is that for abducting people?
No. It's for like sticking your clothes to your body. It's like double-sided tape.
Why would you do that?
Just for mishaps. It's the same as I have safety pins in there. Like, what if I...
Yes, safety pins, I understand.
If I, like, bend over and something rips, I need to, like, stick it down or pin it together. So I have stuff like that. So you
could stick it to yourself. That's interesting. Yes, not thought of that one.
It's more for if it's, like, you're wearing a top and somehow it rips down the middle, then you can stick it onto yourself so it's not moving around and revealing anything.
So I could have done that with my pyjamas then. Just stuck them to my leg.
Yeah. I mean, you would have been at home in your pyjamas, I'm hoping.
Not necessarily.
No? Okay.
No. I changed the battery on Wife of Grumpy's car yesterday in pyjamas. Oh. But it was very early in the morning.
Oh, okay. But anyway, what do you carry? Anything strange?
So, funny enough, we had this conversation at the pub a while back where I went to pay and pulled out a wallet which is quite thick of stuff.
Yes, it is.
And my mate said, "What you got in there? You don't need all of that. You only need one card." So I opened it and I went, "Look, what I've got in here, I have a selection of cards for some reason, I don't know. I think I'm going to end up broken down somewhere and could need massive amount of credit to get home." So there's various cards. And also there's various cards, loyalty cards. Mm. So there's one for the garden centre, and then I have one for the Co-op, and one for Waitrose, and one for this. Although I have found an app on the phone where you can store them. Oh. But it's doesn't always work. So
no,
it works at Waitrose.
They're like QR code type ones rather than.
Well, no, the barcode seems to. Well, it works when you type it in. Co-op was the worst one, but that's all been refitted, so maybe it works there now. But some of the others worked okay. So that did remove some of them. But things like the Brooklands membership card I keep in there, and National Trust. Because the problem is I wouldn't think to go and get it.
Before, yes.
Yeah, I'd arrive there and go, because I normally have everything with me, I don't think
Like my
about
Topgolf
like
card lives in my purse, but I haven't been to Topgolf in years.
No, exactly. That's exactly the point. But you might suddenly decide to go there, and then you'd arrive there without the card. So there's those. But I have also got this credit card sized tool, which has got, you can twist it and you can make screwdrivers out of it and things, which is quite useful. And it's got little spanners in it. So, I mean, it's really only bicycle sized things, but that's quite useful. And then a St. John Ambulance card on resuscitation.
Just in case.
Well, I looked at it. If my heart stopped beating and somebody came along and opened my wallet to find out some information, then pulled out the St. John card and went, "Oh, I've got some instructions here," and off they went. That would be quite useful.
To be honest with you, I would be a bit disappointed if I was found on the floor not breathing and the first place or the first thing someone did was go for my purse rather than call an ambulance.
Yeah, I didn't say it was a rational thought I had, but that was my thinking. And I've also got in there a folded up mask in case I forget mine, or wife of Grumpy forgets hers, which is normally
more likely.
More likely. And then it seems to be stuffed full of receipts that I go through every now and then, look at them, go, "Well, I kept that," and throw them away. Yes, so my wallet is stuffed full of things that probably aren't that useful.
No.
But might.
That's the thing, you never know.
You don't. Oh, here's a good one. What are your 3 must-have smartphone apps?
My 3 must-have. Is this a dish like... Not your, like, WhatsApp, obviously.
Well, that would count as one, I think.
That's like... that comes on any phone, really.
Okay, well, we'll discount WhatsApp.
So, one of mine is our Philip Hughes home app.
Yep, good choice.
So that controls all our lights. I like to do that from our phone. Obviously, this was a couple of years ago now. I had some friends staying over and they were staying downstairs and I was upstairs, but they didn't know I could control the lights and they were being really annoying and loud. So I started turning the lights on and off and like bright red as well. And the next thing I hear is, "Laura, can you come downstairs? I think there's an issue." That was good. I enjoyed that. So very worth having Philips Hue light app.
Just to annoy your friends.
Yeah. Another one I have is a very female one. I have a Flow app. Tells me about my menstrual cycle, you know.
Joke, right, moving on.
It's useful though. Good to know. Not for you, but for me.
No, definitely not for me. No.
I don't really have a third one that I use. Like my banking apps. They're great.
Well, they're sort of a given, really, aren't they?
Solitaire. I play Solitaire a lot on my phone. That is definitely another app that I...
Excellent. Well, that's your 3.
That's
your
3
then. So I would have Spotify.
Oh, I use it on the TV more, to be honest, yeah.
Oh, do you? I use these on my phone a lot. Audible.
What's Audible?
Talking Books.
iBooks.
Talking Books. I use that a lot. And I think it would have to be eBay.
Oh, interesting.
If not for buying things, then for researching things. Yeah. Talking of eBay and talking of buying things, which we weren't, but I'm going to talk about this anyway. So I have a bit of a problem with buying cars.
Yes.
And my aim, if I had enough money, which I think was another one of the questions on here, would be to have a museum of cars of the people. Now, James May took that title for a TV series, so I called it Fanfare for the Common Car, which is something that I've started and not progressed very far. Anyway, if I had the money and I had the space, I would have a museum full of ordinary cars. The next one on my list is a Fiat Panda. And what I would specifically like is the 4x4. So the original 4x4 Panda, loved by ski instructors all over the world. And I think I've talked about this a lot before in previous podcasts. So anyway, so Wife of Grumpy, for some unknown reason, was looking at cars in Car and Classic. I don't know why. And she said, "Oh, these have gone up quite a bit, haven't they?" I went, "Yeah, I know. So we should have bought that one for 150 quid in Billingshurst that was a complete basket case." Which you'd never make your money back, quite frankly, but you would have had the joy of doing it, all the frustration.
Well, you would have.
I would have done, yeah. But we are running out of space, has to be said. But Yeah, so either that or maybe a 2CV, but I think the prices here are ridiculous. So it would be a go to France and buy one from a farmer. Well, not pinch one, buy one from a farmer. Anyway, we've digressed.
In France.
Well, there's not that many, actually.
They used to be.
Not original 2CVs. It used to be loads, but that was many years ago. Right, should we have one more spin of the conversation roulette?
Go on then. Let's see what it gives us.
If you could live anywhere on Earth, where would you live?
Do I have to work?
Let's assume not.
I would quite like to live in the Alps somewhere. In like Chamonix, where in the summer it's still really nice and hot. In the winter it's really nice and cold, and you can just kind of live halfway up a mountain and nowhere near anyone else. But if you want to go into the town, there is a town there.
That's quite a good choice, actually. I'm not sure I can disagree with that at all.
You can avoid the people that are annoying.
You can indeed.
The only problem is you're then living in France, and you've got to be around French people.
Well, I personally didn't have a problem with that at all. I quite like the French, and I quite like their attitude to life as well.
Yes, I do like their attitude to life.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you there. Somewhere where it's not too hot in the summer, and I'm not too worried about how cold it is in the winter.
But snow's fun. I like snow.
Yeah, snow's good.
Or you could get a little... Is it a skidoo? Is that the snow one?
Yes.
Yeah, you could like zoom around on a skidoo.
That would be quite cool, wouldn't it?
Lots of wood fires, lots of mulled wine on the balcony.
Oh, wood fires are the new evil now.
Oh, we're not allowed wood fires anymore.
Well, apparently what they give off when they burn is pretty grotty.
Get a gas one then.
Well, you can't win, basically.
No.
You do. But, yes, though I like that. Yes, I go for that too. Somewhere in Citre Mont Blanc.
Yes.
I think would be good. I quite like northern Italy as well. I said having been there a couple of times. That's quite a nice area. And the Italians, I love the Italians. They're survivors. Southern Italy is a bit warm for me.
It gets very hot in southern Italy.
It does get very hot, but also the roads as well are not quite so well maintained. Yeah, they're pretty bad here, but actually roads that we drove on the way back from Rome were pretty horrific, some of them. Yes, so yeah, good choice. So Lippy, it's top tip time. Do you have a top tip?
Tip time. Yeah, I do actually. And it's a mixture of...
sorry, I'm going to stop. I think we ought to have a jingle.
I said this before.
Well, you could organise that.
I can't sing though. This is the issue.
No, but we're going to get DJ Finn to
mix
put
us
one together. But yes, but he's so excited about his camper van. I don't think he's got time for anything else. Yes.
I'm going to message him. We're going to get a jingle for the top tip.
Excellent. Good.
Anyway, yes, it's top tip time, and I have a top tip from the Lippy brain.
Oh, good. Those are the best.
It's like I saw something and then I thought about it as a tip and it made me laugh. Yes, so my top tip, based on the fact that obviously on the 12th of April, which is only a few days away, lots of people can have their hair cut. So if you see someone that maybe is a bit angry or a bit upset or a bit of a slapped bum face, you know, the best thing to say to them is, oh, is it because of the haircut?
But what if it is?
Yeah.
Or what if they've not had their hair cut?
Well, either you'll get a laugh or a punch in the face.
Yes, I think it might be the latter.
I just think it's the best time to do it, isn't it? Because everyone's getting their hair cut.
Well, mine still hasn't grown back from the scalping I had a few weeks ago. Yeah, quite.
In my head, I had this image of someone being a bit upset and someone going over and being like, oh, is it the hair? And then going, well, now it is.
Yes,
I've been watching a lot of Friends recently as well, and I think that's like triggered.
Yes.
So top tip.
Not sure that's to be recommended, that one.
Give it a go and see what happens.
Well, we'll see. I'm not booked in for any sort of haircut or nails
I need
or anything
it,
like that.
but
yeah,
I'll wait for it to calm down a bit first, I think. I don't need it that badly.
I think it's going to be a bit manic, to be honest. So I have a fun fact.
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure it's fun, actually. It's an interesting fact. So it's from the Guinness Book of Records.
Ooh.
So the first person to be charged with speeding was a gentleman called Walter Arnold, and he lived in Paddock Wood in Kent, not far from where I was born.
Yeah.
And on the 28th of January, 1896, which is nowhere near when I was born, before you making a comment about that, he was caught going 4 times the speed limit in his 19th century Benz.
Damn, that's...
The speed limit at the time was a mere 2 miles an hour.
No.
Yes.
He was doing like 10 miles an hour.
Yes.
That's ridiculous. He
Yeah,
wasn't even doing
crazy,
10, he was doing 8 if it was 4 times.
Yes. Yes, it would be 8,
That's
wouldn't it?
so funny. Imagine like getting... Well, you do actually get told off for driving that slow.
Well, in certain places, yes. So the policeman who issued the ticket chased him down on his bicycle, would you believe?
So he must have been cycling, his little legs just going.
Well, 10 miles an hour is not...
Actually, that's not that much,
It's
is
not
it?
that fast, yeah. I mean, you've got to catch up it's a bit. So his fine was £4 and 7 shillings, which to me sounds like an awful lot of money for 1896.
Well, I guess it's around £90, isn't it, these days?
I've no idea. I've never been stopped for speeding. Well, I have been stopped for speeding. I've never been prosecuted for speeding. They couldn't catch me.
Too fast. I myself haven't been caught speeding in a very long time, but the last time I got caught, the awareness course is like £90. And I think it's similar to the fine amount. And I've only ever been actually physically stopped by a policeman once. And they stopped me outside of the house.
Oh.
And he was like, oh, if we end up waking your parents up, they'll be very embarrassed. I was like, they're not in.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah. He was like, oh.
So the fine equivalent today,
Yes.
roughly, would be £532.
Damn!
So that is quite a...
You wouldn't speed if you were getting £500 fine, would you?
Well, my advice would be to speed faster, because if the police have only got bicycles to catch you on, just try faster than the bicycle.
Yeah, they're not going to remember your number plate when they're trying to catch up with you, are they?
Well, I don't think we had number plates in that early.
Crazy.
Well, that's an interesting question. I might have to look into
Why
that.
did he stop but just keep going?
Well, maybe he just stopped.
Yeah, coincidentally stopped rather than...
Yes, I mean, if you look at the Veteran Run in November from Hyde Park, the speed of some of those is very slow, and those are of that era.
How did he know he was going 4 times the speed limit?
Well, here's a question. So they wouldn't have had radar guns?
No.
That's a really interesting question. I guess it just would have been obvious that he was doing 4 times the speed limit.
Yeah, it would have been obvious he was going faster than the speed limit.
Yeah, because if you walk at a reasonable pace, you do 3 miles an hour. So if he was doing 8...
So in those days, it was quicker to walk somewhere than it was to drive. That's so funny. I don't know why that's...
Well, the thing is, they had a... I can't remember when it stopped, but they used to have a man with a red flag that would walk in front of the vehicle. Which is crazy, really, when you think about it.
They might as well have used a horse and carriage.
Well, yeah, except that you had to clear up poo.
Oh, yeah, true.
So if you look at pictures from the Victorian era, the streets are full of horse poo. Because that's what they do. They eat and poo
everywhere.
All the time. Yeah, absolutely everywhere. Oh, and the other thing to do with speed of cars is that back then we thought that if you went above a certain speed, which was quite low, the body would just explode and all the bits would come out, and that would be the end of you, which is partly why there was such a low speed limit.
Well, he proved them wrong, didn't he?
Well, he got to 8 miles an
hour
and didn't explode. So I think that's worthy of some investigation.
Definitely.
So maybe I could slip in a car topic next week.
Oh, no.
That's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
You can help spread Lippy and Grumpy's view on life by leaving a review on your favourite podcast platform.
If you're not sure how to leave a review, or if you download from Spotify, there's some help at lippyandgrumpy.uk/review.
And if you would like to get in touch, email podcast@lippyandgrumpy.uk.
So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.